Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Five Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I'm your host today, TJ Branson. Usually, I like to go early and take some submissions from the comment section and the chat and everything like that to get to show the player cards, do a little analysis from what you guys want. Running a little late tonight, so we're hopping right into the show. We've got Tuesday trends for you guys, underlying stats. And it's not as packed as last week, and I did that very much intentionally. I think I might have stretched myself a little too thin, too many plates spinning with all the players that we covered last week. If you guys want to go back and check that episode a lot, still pretty relevant. We were talking about guys in the Discord today, David Pastrnak coming up, and just different guys that are still, you wanted to say buy low, but you always say that with the kind of implicit suggestion that it's going to get better immediately. But there's still time, and there's a few guys I want to get to. And I was literally just doing something for Timo Meyer, who is going to show up in this episode. So if you guys want to get in touch with us, we are in that Fantasy Hockey Discord. You guys are welcome to join us there. And we've got Twitter at FHF Hockey. Let's get right into it. I've got the and can I guess I could do slides here. Yeah, I've got the slideshow up on YouTube for those of you guys joining us in the YouTube chat. What's going on? Let's get into it. Let's get into the news and notes first off. Tage Thompson's getting close. Today was apparently a step in the right direction. Tage, Alex Tuck also apparently dealing with some kind of injury. So those line combinations are going to be something worth checking out going into the rest of the week. Austin Matthews has not skated for the last few days, is not going to play this week. He's been day-to-day for 3 weeks now, which is a little more than day-to-day. Sure would have loved to get him on IR. If you got IR plus, good for you guys. Ryan Reeves gets 5 games suspension, and that feels light. This is a guy who continuously comes up in these kinds of conversations, and you hate to see it. Darnell Nurse, a guy that very much could have stood up for himself had he been able to stand up at the time. Brutal injury. He's going to be out 5 to 10 days. Georgiev is on IR. Annunen is playing tonight versus Philadelphia. And keep in mind, the games are still happening at this point, but most of the stats that I'm dealing with are not considering tonight's game stats, things like that. Last I looked, it was 2-0, and Colorado was winning. My kids were going to sleep. We put on Polar Express, so I missed anything after that. Chris Letang is out with the sickness. Braden Point is taking line rushes on line 1, so that leads me to believe that he's close. And should be good to go, hopefully pretty soon here. JT Miller. This is a really weird one. This is a guy that we've been talking about. He keeps coming up. There was even a request for him to come up tonight in the shallow dives later on. JT Miller played 11:41 time on ice, did not really see a shift at a certain point in the third period. Like, Rick Tocchet straight up did not play him at all for a while. So something's really going on there. He wants to make a example out of JT Miller, but I really do think that if, injury was what we were thinking, because, he's not taking faceoffs at the same pace that he used to, and there were just so much other kind of stats that were all dropping at the same time. And injury seemed to be the most obvious cause of everything. But if Rick Tocchet's straight up benching the guy, you got to think that, like, if Tocchet knew that something was bothering him, he kind of would have given him, I don't know, a pass, or I don't know, not punished him in that way. I was trying to find, because punish seems a little harsh, but that's basically what we're getting at. Kevin Lankinen has allowed 16 goals against in his last 4 games played, has lost 3 out of 4 of those games. I feel like it's just the Vancouver Canucks. When it rains, it pours right now, so it's pouring. And Demko seems to be getting closer and closer. Our boy Raj was his show, Sekaris and Price. I think Dreger was on there, and he said that Demko's a lot closer than we think. But I want to urge caution with Demko. I just get the feeling that even if he does come back, we're going to be dealing with a lot of like random last minute day-to-day, oh, Demko's not ready for this, like it might be more like the juice might not be worth the squeeze, So just caution when it comes to that kind of thing. This is an injury that we've never seen before in goaltending, never seen before in hockey. So got to give it a little bit of, I don't know, caution, really. Ovi gets a hat trick, and Dylan Strome keeps on assisting on those goals. They keep rolling. It's only unsustainable if they stop. Some more news and notes. There's no timeline on Seth Jones. Alex Vlasic was taking those power play 1 reps. Still no call up on Korchinski or Levshinov. We'll see what they really do there. Cam York is in a regular jersey at practice. Drysdale still in a non-contact jersey. So it's going to be time there. Travis Sanheim, I was getting ready to write the Eastern Edge, which I'm going to do after this for Dauber. And Travis Sanheim leads all defensemen in November in time on ice. So that's a stat worth keeping in the back of your brain, just in case like Philadelphia has a really good schedule, but Sanheim is starting to look good. I feel a bit like you can't really suggest anyone from Philadelphia just because Torts is so crazy with his line combinations and power plays and everything like that. So I don't know. I do really like Sanheim, though. I feel like he's probably pretty highly owned. I don't have a piece of him anywhere, so I don't know what he looks like ownership-wise. Victor Olofsson was sent to Henderson for a conditioning stint. Mark Stone is skating, so it looks like they're going to get some backup coming in there. Skipped these two. Samsonov got his first start since October 30th, so they're maybe coming back towards the 50-50. I doubt it. But he's getting some gameplay. Yaroslav Askarov got a call up in San Jose. Vitek Vanacek is day to day. So this one, like, I know it's going to be super exciting to add Askarov. I just don't know, like, is that for backup duties? Is he actually going to get a game? Like, how day to day is Vitek Vanacek? If he's back, like, do they just send Askarov back down? Like, I know he was super stoked. I think he said it feels better than $1 million or something. So you figure they probably want to give him a game and see how it runs. He's been doing pretty well in the minors from what I remember. On the island, Duclair is not skating yet. Barzal and Pelech have been cleared by doctors, and they should start skating soon. So we'll see how that goes. Kasperi Kapanen placed on waivers in St. Louis. That could mean that Robert Thomas is ready to come back or getting close to come back, or maybe they just wanted a little extra cap room to play with. But either way, that probably means something. Lineup trends we're going to get into. There's not much that's going on this week in terms of lineups and power plays. Everything stayed pretty static. Vegas Barbashev is back with Eichel and Dorofiev, and New York Rangers Will Cooley's getting some intermittent power play 2 time. Like, it's been either Trouba or Cooley kind of cycling in and out. So, a little added bonus to the bangs that you get from Cooley. Like, we love his riffs. So for him to be able to get some power play points on top of it, even if it is just power play 2, whether you get 1 or 2 power play points, it's an added bonus. Colorado, Druin is on line 1 with Lehkonen and McKinnon. I was watching that game a little bit. Travis Sanheim actually stole a goal from Druin. So maybe he's not the NPC I thought, but I'm checking his box score right now, and I'm betting on straight zeros. He got an assist. Look at him go. Let's see. 23 shifts, 2 blocks, no shots, giveaway, a takeaway, and 25% on faceoffs. So it's good to not see zeros in his score sheet for first time this year. We'll see. Winnipeg, during the 5-0 loss, Scott Arniel was blending the lines, but they are back to normal. So anybody that was kind of freaked out by the Velarde on line 2 tweet that went out a couple days ago, it's back to normal. Velarde is going to be right back up there. Bedard's playing on the wing in Chicago with Dickinson and Anderson. I don't know how long that's going to last, but it's something that's happening. Damn, you said Ovi with 2 already tonight. I'm on in the chat here. Ovi's got 2 already. Good for him, man. He is piling it on. I think about a week ago, they said he's going to break Gretzky's record by February. And with a hat trick and 2 more tonight, I can only imagine, like, that timeline just keeps getting closer and closer. So fun stuff on the horizon with Ovechkin. Let's get into the hot players. The hot players that I have on the docket for a deep dive tonight: Martin Necas, Matvei Mishkov, Logan Stankoven. The cold players that I have queued up are Timo Meyer, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and man, I'm forgetting the last one. I feel like it was somebody who's like only a little bit cold, but still cold enough to warrant a. We'll keep it a surprise. How's that? Because I don't remember right now. But yeah. Armin's asking about an ETA on Demko in the chat here. I don't have an exact date, but every time I hear something, it says, "Oh, he's getting closer," which is technically true, but also it's a nothing burger kind of thing. Oh, so it's Matty Tkachuk as a deep dive cold streak. Let's get into these hot streaks here because we got Martin Necas coming up first, and the red flags I got on this guy. I mean, a lot of it is just going to be surface stats that shouldn't surprise anybody. There's an 18% drop in shots on goal. He's 90th in the league in shots on goal per 60. There's a 146% increase in his shooting percentage. He is shooting at a 25.6% clip. He's on pace for 53 goals and 58 power play points. His on-ice shooting percentage is 17.29, and he is third in assists per 60. So I paired those two stats together just so you kind of feel how exponential this unsustainability is. So 146% increase in shooting percentage and an 18% drop in shots on goal per 60. Those are two stats that you don't want to see paired together. Like his shooting efficiency has gone up, but his shooting, like the quality has gone up, but the quantity has gone down. So those two things, when they cancel each other out like that, that's almost like that's worse than just straight up high shooting percentage or something, because the shooting percentage is going to come down and there's not going to be as many shots to score on. Not great. And then the on-ice shooting percentage paired with assists per 60. He's third in the league in assists per 60, and the on-ice shooting percentage is like 17.3%. That's way too high. So all of his line mates and himself are scoring way too much. So that means those assists are going to start to fall off as well. Again, this is all shrouded in the word should. Like, does it happen? Maybe. Should it happen? I mean, the numbers are telling us that, yeah. His IPP is floating around 81%. I did want to mention, though, 80% of his points are primary points. So if he's getting in on too many points, if you're just looking at the IPP, you're like, oh, he's getting in on too much. He's creating a lot of this. So I do brush that IPP off because there is such a high primary points percentage. Individual expected goals is 4.81, which means the goal to expected goal differential is like he's got 6 more goals than he, quote unquote should. And he has 136 individual expected goals per 60. So all of his underlying stats are pretty unremarkable. 86th in scoring chances for, 103rd in Corsi for, 185th in high danger chances for. I mean, 3 of his goals are high danger goals for. 6 of his goals are mid danger, and then the rest are low danger. So there's a lot here that says we should expect a pretty significant drop back down to earth. I can't even tell you the last time a Carolina Hurricane has broken 100 points, and he's on pace to blow past that quite substantially. I mean, even like think about it. Martin Necas, Sebastian Aho. Aho is kind of like the superstar, and Necas is just kind of starting to flirt with that superstar ratio or namesake. And for him to do better than Sebastian Aho ever has, it just doesn't feel right. And there's no statistical backing to, Martin Necas isn't better than Sebastian Aho. Obviously he is this year for sure. But I don't know. It for a 100-point player to come out of Carolina, he's got a hell of a head start. I'll tell you that much. Hell of a head start. And very well could do it this year. It's just if you are going to be like selling him at what he is right now, 145-point pace, if you can cash in on that, you absolutely should. Like if you can get somebody who's sustainably 100, 110 points, something like that, I'd be 100% in on it. The green flags on Nietzsche's are, 80% of his points are primary. So everything he's doing, 4 out of every 5 of these points, he's creating those points. So there is a certain amount of like wiggle room you can start to give these unsustainable stats. Primary points does encompass goals. So the goals being unsustainable as they are, do the primary points start to dip down too? But, his assist to secondary assist ratio is pretty good. So only 31% of his assists are secondary, pretty good. 98% increase in power play time on ice per game. That is where a lot of his work is getting done. Go back to that, 58 power play point pace. That's insane. His offensive zone starts are also pretty good looking. So let's check out his player card here. I'm going to try and type it in. I'm like crazy thirsty on this episode too. All right. So I'll share it here so we can do a little, what do you call it? I don't know, because I think the bottom is a little off. But look, so last 30, last 14, last 7, his time on ice is even increasing as we get closer to today. His last 4 games played, he's got over 19 minutes of time on ice. He's got 7 points in there, so he's still riding this 140 to 150 point pace that he's got going on. But the signal flares to everything kind of dropping off is the on ice shooting percentage, which is probably buoyed a lot by his own shooting percentage. You kind of have to look into his, like, the sustainability of his line mates and whether or not this on ice shooting percentage is inflated solely because of Martin Necas. And the secondary assists still look good. Shooting percentage is still like crazy high, but this is what I like to see. So his shots on goal per 60 are starting to revive themselves. So over the year, they're down 18%, but he's starting to come back to that 10 shots per 60 where he was at last year, which brought him to a 24 goal pace in 77 or 24 goals in 77 games. So 30 goals, I mean, he's a third of the way there, and there's still 80% of the season left. So 30 goals is an easy over to bet. Do we get 40? I think so. 45 is actually where I start to kind of draw the line, and he's on pace for close to 60 at this point. And for that to happen, I don't know that I buy into it. There's a lot here that I don't buy into with Martin Necas. So for him, he is a sell, but there's an asterisk there because I think what you're going to get out of Martin Necas is not only face value, but what you paid for Necas, whether it was an 8th round, 9th round, if you're in an 8 team, maybe he made it to the waiver wire, but Necas is giving you return on investment like crazy. And for him to have the season that the numbers say he should have, he's going to go the rest of the season at face value for what you paid for. So there's no loss of value. You just got these 6 weeks of incredible production for free. So I think the worst case scenario is that you get the Martin Necas that you paid for on draft day. So for me, that's also a hold because there are going to be these spurts of just incredible production where he's 23 points away from beating his last season's entire production. And in 60 less games. Crazy. This is insane. And if you were to sell him, you get somebody who's going to be 110 point pace the rest of the way, 100 point pace the rest of the way. You're going to miss out on this insane run that he's having. And then this, 70 point season that he quote unquote should be having the rest of the way. So for me, Necas is he's more of a hold than he is a sell, but I'm not going to talk you out of selling depending on what you can get for him, because I think there is going to be a market for that. It's going to be pretty limited because anybody that I feel like he's the biggest sell high and people know. So for you to be going out and like, hey, I'll trade you Nietzsche's for Jack Eichel, who's equally as hot and could be in that range of like where the budget should be on a Martin Nietzsche's. I just don't feel like either of those things are going to happen. So if the worst case scenario is you wind up holding Martin Nietzsche's, I'm pretty happy with that worst case scenario. Next up, Logan Stankoven. He's hot as hell, especially for a, he's in the rookie race. He's up against my Matvey Mishkov, and he's looking pretty good. The red flags on here is he plays on Dallas, which is terrible news for anybody who's, owning any Dallas players whatsoever. Ask your local J-Rob owner how he's feeling. Ask your local Wyatt Johnston owner how he's feeling. Ask your Rupe Hintz owner how he's feeling right now. The answer is not great. What's weird, I guess, is we see a 39% jump in IPP. He's jumped to 77%, 78%. So it's not like he jumped to an entirely outlandish percentage. It's just that he did jump. So it's worth noting. In his last 3 games played, the average time on ice is 14:38, which I think is just a symptom of Dallas as a whole. You never really know what the time on ice is going to look like. But the green flags far outweigh the red flags here on Stankoven. Shots on goal, he's 9th in the league. Straight up. Like he's right now it's 11.78. He's on pace for 251 shots. And they've gone up 36% over last year, his pace and his per 60s. He's 46th in individual expected goals per 60. There's been a 63% increase in power play time on ice. And he recently was promoted to power play 1 over Wyatt Johnston, who got demoted to power play 2. So something I was talking about last week, I think even the week before, is like, where do we kind of put the threshold for Wyatt Johnston? Is it that power play production? Is the power play deployment? Like, does Stankoven take it? And I think that's finally happened. Shooting percentage, secondary assist ratio, on ice shooting percentage are all pretty stable for Logan Stankoven. There's been a 2.3% increase in his on ice shooting percentage. Secondary assists are floating around 40%, and his shooting percentage has actually gone down from last year, 30%. So an increase in shot production and a decrease in shooting percentage, those two things are not mutually exclusive. So when the opposite happens, like, we were just talking about with Nietzsche's, where, the shooting percentage has gone up, but the shot volume has gone down and his shooting percentage skyrocketed. This is the opposite. So he's shooting a hell of a lot more and getting 6-7% more time on ice. And his efficacy has just been part of that. Like, it's not that he's shooting any better or worse than he ever has, but there's just more shots, and goalies probably stop a few more of them. I don't know. There's nothing saying that, this 30% drop in shooting percentage year over year can't bounce back, and we see a little bit more goal production out of Stankoven. It's just, we haven't seen it yet. So let's go to the player card. For me, Stank's a hold. He's a 72-point rookie, and he got 24 games last year, so just under the cut for the Calder. So I'm still, quote unquote, calling him a rookie at this point. But 72-point pace. We're getting into the 250s with the shot pace. Shooting percentage super healthy. Secondary assist ratio looking really good. And his primary point production over the last 30 days is actually really impressive. He's done a lot. And look, his IPP looks really good over the same span. On a shooting percentage, like, I really like this guy's stats. I like looking at these stats. Everything that you want to see is there. The power play point pace is 15 power play points. So it's not like a lot of his production is, he's not a power play merchant, where we're going to get to that with Matvey Mishkov coming up next, and how that can kind of be a worry. I really like Stankoven. If a 70-point player is worth buying for you, I would go out and buy him. But he's been pretty hot. He's been pretty buzzworthy. He's been kind of a fun player to own. So if somebody already owns him and you're knocking on their door, it might be a little expensive. You might be overpaying. but I think 65, 70 points is a fair bet on the season. So I'd be holding Logan Stankoven. I don't see any major decline in his production based on these statistics. Granted, I haven't watched a bunch of Dallas games to really pass the eye test on him, but his stats look really good. Matvey Mishkov. This is a guy who I have watched a lot of. He looks good. Shots are good. The IQ is good. I did put in here, I got a little sassy and I was like, he has more points than Bedard, more goals than Bedard. His plus minus is better than Bedard. But yet, Bedard gets all the buzz. No, I honestly, like, I'm not that brainwashed. You know, I do think Bedard winds up the better player. Mishkov's just having it right now. It's hard to, like, he's a true rookie, doesn't have any stats for last year. So you're going to notice here, you know, everything for last year is dead, you know, all this stuff. So I don't really have any, there are certain things that I looked up, you know, on the KHL website and things like that. His shot production, you know, per game, his shooting percentage. Those are two things that I definitely took note of. The red flags on Mishkov, he plays for Torts. So we've seen it once already this season. He sat out a couple games. Nobody's saying that it's over, and it very well could happen again. So I'm a little bit concerned on that, but, like, you know, we're drafting Austin Matthews in the first round and he misses 10 games every year. So, like, is that kind of where we're at? You know, Cale Makar, first round pick, misses 8 to 10 games every year. So, like, what do we pay for Mishkov? 13th round pick, 14th round pick in 12 team leagues, 10th, maybe if somebody was a little froggy on him, but, like, to miss a few games because of Tortorella, I don't know. I'm not super pissed off about it. But you got to know that the extra scrutiny is there when it comes to playing in Tortorella's system. Like, you know, you give up a bad 3-on-1 going the other way, like, you're probably sitting. Couturier sit for that reason. Konechny sit for that reason. Mishkov is shooting 20.7%. This is where those KHL stats come into play. He shot like 9.5 to 10% in all of his KHL, VHL, MHL, whatever seasons. He was shooting 4 times a game in the KHL. So he's shooting less and scoring more in the NHL. He's shooting half as much as he did in the KHL, and he's scoring twice as much as he did in the KHL. So those are a little bit worrisome. And the biggest benefactor of this is that he has 41 power play point pace at this point. And 8 of his 15 points are on the power play, and he plays for the Flyers. I don't see somebody getting 41 power play points from my Philadelphia Flyers. He has a 13% on-ice shooting percentage. That is a little high. Granted, you know, 20.7% of it is his own, inflating those numbers, but he has been up and down the lineup all over the place. So it just seems like everybody that he's playing with kind of sees a little bit of a bump. Like Anthony Richard right now is playing, you know, pretty much lights out relative to expectations anyway. But what I like seeing is that pop that back up. His shots on goal per 60 is starting to increase, but just in time for his time on ice to kind of float below his season averages by about 2.5 minutes. So that sucks. But yeah, his shots on goal pace, if it breaks 200 points or 200 shots pace, I'd be pretty happy with his shot production. I don't think he's going to jump right into the league and pop off 4 shots a game just yet, but I think that's in the tank for those of you in dynasty leagues and stuff waiting on him. But I think it's not something we can count on this year. Maybe he goes on a burner, but yeah, not giving us a bunch of peripherals. As you can see, like the hits, the blocks are pretty empty, but all the offensive stats he's given us, which is nice. So for me, Mishkov is, you know, he's a bit of a sell or a bit of a hold even. Like, you know, I'm happy with the ride that we're going to get out of Mishkov. It's just, I don't think right now he's on pace for 77 points. And as an incredible of a rookie season as that would be, and as incredible of a player as he is, I know my Flyers, I know the offensive ceiling just of the team is kind of capped. and that's a Konechny season. So can he have it? Sure. Do I think he's going to with the stats he has right now? No. I need to see these shots go up. I need to see some more even strength production for those to kind of carry on. So as soon as those things happen, I can start to buy into a 70-point season for Mishkov. But right now, like if the rest of these stats continue for the rest of the year, I think like unsustainability just kind of snowballs to a certain degree. Yep. So he would be a sell, but also a hold. So like I'm on the fence here, and a little bit of team bias is playing into it. As you can see, I've got some Flyers memorabilia. I'm a Flyers fan, and that is what scares me because nobody hates the Flyers more than Flyers fans. I don't care if you're a Pens fan. I don't care if you're a Rangers fan. Nobody hates the Flyers more than Flyers fans, and that's just a Philly thing. That's a Flyers thing, I guess. But I don't trust my team enough to produce that, especially for a rookie in a John Tortorella system. So there's a lot here that scares the crap out of me, and I don't feel comfortable being happy about somebody on the Flyers. So I think we could get a 65, 70-point season out of the guy, but right now at a 77-point pace, if you can sell him as a 75, 80-point player and just come up a little bit, I think it's a win. If you're trying to red paperclip this, but again, if you want to hold, I think we're going to like for us to get 10 less points pace over the next 60 games. Not a huge loss, all right, we're going to get into the cold players. Timo Meier, Matthew Tkachuk, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. In that order. We got some people in the chat asking about Timo Meier already. We're getting into it, and you're not going to like it. Whew. Look at all those words. Red flags for Timo Meier. I got some green flags to come up with it next. Red flags are a lot of his stats look identical to the way that they did last year, and people seem to be really upset with his production. Currently, he's on a 55-point pace. Last year, he gave us 62, so we're missing 7-point pace. The time on ice last year, 1736. This year, 1724. Hit pace last year, 132 hit pace. This year, 133. Points per 60, 2.6 last year, 2.3 this year. Block pace, 50 last year, 51 this year. Power play time on ice, 222 last year, 218 this year. A lot is the same as it was last year. We're just getting a little bit worse production. Now, where are those points missing from? Like where did they go? What happened? His power play point pace is down 42%. Last year he gave 17 power play points, which was good enough for a 20 power play point pace. This year the pace is 12. Power play time on ice per game is down only 3%. His power play percentage is only down 3%. His offensive zone starts are down 14%. And this comes into play because he's playing with Nico Hischier, who is a defensive-ish, like a more responsible center than Jack Hughes. So if he was paired with Jack Hughes, he'd be seeing a lot more offensive zone time, where his responsibilities being paired with Nico are going to be different. He's going to be utilized in a more defensive kind of peripheral, just by collateral damage. He's going to be seeing defensive responsibilities more so than if he was with Hughes. His secondary assists are up almost 40%. His on-ice shooting percentage is down 17%. He has seen a 200% increase in giveaways per 60 and a 7% drop in on-ice goals for per 60. And I was just talking to Maddie in our host Discord because he's working out. God, I hope I'm not doxing him or blowing up his spot, but he's trying to do a Timo Meier sell. Like he's trying to trade Meier right now. I'm not going to say for who. I'm not going to say for what because I really don't want to blow up his spot. But I was doing a little bit of research on Timo Meier, and I'm trying to find the Google sheet where I have like 6 windows open. So here we go. Let me see if I can share this one. This is going to hurt because I think a lot of people really kind of, how would you call it? like saint eyes, like make him a god. Where Timo Meyer might not be that guy. Let me see if I can fire it away here. So what I've done is I have summarized his seasons that were 2021-22, that big breakout season that we're all hoping for, that we're hoping that he can build on. And then all of his other seasons as an average. His time on ice in that breakout season was 12% more than it has been the rest of his career. His goals that season were 16% higher than they were the rest of his career. His assists were 36% higher than the rest of his career. His primary assists, 45% higher. Secondary assists, 56% higher. Points, 32% higher. IPP was 16% higher. His shots on goal pace was 25% higher. His shooting percentage right around the same, only 4% higher. Individual expected goals were 22% higher. His scoring chances, 16% higher. This is the interesting part that I really can't figure out. But his high danger Corsi 4 pace, 82 game pace, is actually 7%, 8% lower than his breakout season. So I don't know what gives there, but a lot of the times I bring up Oliver Ekman-Larsson as kind of this catfish who gives us one fantastic season. Ekblad did the same thing. So many players just like give, and now I think Jason Robertson is probably going to wind up being in that same category. But you give us just one kick and tits season, and everybody is, gung ho that that's who he is now, and how he, like, you see the linear progression, right? Where one season it's 50 points, the next season is 75, and then you're like, oh, it's going to be 100 points next season. Well, maybe the outlier was that great season. And that very well could be the case with Timo. I'm not saying it's not in the tank. It's just saying that the numbers, like the rest of this. So let me see what I can do here. These are his power play stats. These are his 5-on-5 stats. So where is it? Points per 82, 56 points. Like, what sticks out like an outlier? 30, 49, 42, 30, 37, 41, 27, 35, 39, 56. Which one sticks out? Which one seems weird? All right, let's go to power play 82 game pace. 4, 10, 10, 15, 24. That's actually I wonder if I did something weird there. 25, 19, 20, 22, 11, and then 19. So the power play in San Jose that crazy year wasn't super epic, but you get what I'm saying here. Like the season that sticks out, the one that looks weird, is probably weird. And now that we have more game tape on Timo Meyer, like we have 1, 2, 3 seasons of Timo Meyer before that crazy season, and 1, 2, 3 seasons, 4 seasons. I didn't really count his rookie year. 4 seasons before his breakout year that we can look at, and we get an idea of, like, is that a natural progression for him, or was that the outlier year? And I'm starting to lean like that was the outlier year. Like, is he more of just a 55 to 65 point guy with fantastic peripheral value, hits, blocks, sometimes shots? Like, Timo gives us everything. The points, he blessed us in 2021-22. Is that who he is forever? I don't know. His role would really need to change. The big things here that I'm seeing with just how he can get back there, because I know that's going to be the question we're going to be getting to next. Like, is he going to be able to get back there? He needs 12% more time on ice. He needs to score on 6%, 5% more goals. He needs to take an extra, shot every 4 games. There's a lot that needs to happen, and it's all on Timo. Like, it's not just time on ice. It's not Sheldon Keefe's fault. It wasn't Lindy Ruff's fault. He just went Super Saiyan 1 year, And that's kind of where I'm at. So let's get back into the red flag, green flags on him. The green flags, because I know you guys are gonna you're probably shivering with all this cold water right now. This is where, like, you know, I know podcasts out there really, really like their per 60 stats, and like sometimes it just doesn't fucking matter. And it especially doesn't matter when guys are already topped out in terms of deployment. And Timo might be there. So yeah, him being 19th in high danger chances for, great. How much more time on ice is he really going to get? Like, can those high danger chances, can you get more of them? You know, his time on ice went down 1.18% since last year. So what, is he going to get one more high danger chance over the course of a year? I don't know. Like, so for him to be this good in certain per 60 stats, it, after a while, it just does not matter. 31st in shots on goal per 60, 33rd in individual expected goals per 60. And this one's big because his shooting percentage is down. His goals, I guess they're kind of right on par, but like it all comes back to this power play that I'm going to start to paint that picture coming up next. So he's tied with Panarin and surprisingly Jeff Skinner in individual expected goals per 60. So Skinner, you know, we could have a conversation about him being you know, potential bounce back, but he's getting fourth line minutes in Edmonton for whatever reason right now. 16th in individual Corsi 4 per 60, Timo Meier, and his power play shooting percentage is down 79%. It was 32% last year. Right now it's 6%, 6.7. All his power play rate stats are increased over last year. His individual Corsi 4 per 60 on the power play is up 39%. Individual expected goals per 60 on the power play, up 24%. Shots on goal, up 39%. High danger chances, up 37%. But his goals per 60 on the power play is down 66%. So he, quote unquote, should have twice the amount of goals that he does on the power play, which is 1. So he should have 2 power play goals. And the low on ice shooting percentage and the low IPP on the power play, he should have more points on the power play. So that's where right now he's got 12 power play point pace. For him to get back up to 20, we're looking at another 3 or 4 power play points. And that makes him whole in terms of last year. So he's missing out on those points, which I do believe that he is entitled to. It's just they haven't happened for him. So if things start to work on the power play, which sucks because of the way that Sheldon Keefe is deploying his power play units right now. Like Stefan Nason has taken that top power play role spot, and that is brutal. He lost that power play spot to Stefan Nason. So how is he going to get those power play points back if he's playing with, you know, a quote unquote worse power play unit? So this one feels a lot like chicken or the egg. Really tough situation to handle here with Timo Meier, but I do. And this is what I have, or at least I thought I did. I think just we need to, maybe it was a different player, but I really do think we just need to readjust our projections on Timo Meier. Like every year we're like, okay, he's going to build on that 1 year that he had 4 years ago, and he's going to go off for 90 points. What if that already happened? But instead of going off for 90 points, he went off for 75. I mean, maybe, right? I'm ripping the Band-Aid off and I hate it, but yeah. What's really cool is I want to share his player card in a little bit of interactivity here, because what I like to see is that over his last 3 games, he has 15 shots. In his last 7 games, he has 23. So we're looking at a shots on goal pace of over 400 in just his last 3 games. Super small sample size, but for him to be shooting at 5 shots on goal per game, that's big. You know, it really brings, you know, those totals closer in reach. If he can earn that top power play spot back, and it really does seem like Sheldon Keefe really likes Stefan Nason. Like that's kind of his weird guy. That's his guy right now. So he needs to beat Stefan Nason for it. And he's at a bit of a disadvantage because now he has worse deployment for it. And he's not being deployed in offensive situations, as you can see here with like this slowly increasing offensive zone start, under 50% in the last 30 days. Last year, he was seeing 63% of his starts in the offensive zone. A ton of on-the-fly starts, so don't think that like he's only starting in the defensive zone, but defensive zone faceoffs and offensive zone faceoffs, that's where that comes in. So he is being paired with Nico, and I'll come back to that, where he's just being deployed differently. I guess Timo is a buy, with the caveat that you are buying not based on ceiling, an incorrect ceiling at that, because I do think we're all wrong on his ceiling collectively. Like, we all think he's the 75-point player, and he very well could be 1 or 2 seasons from now for one season. But for him to like completely shift who he's been his entire career to match what he did 1 year, that seems a little more unlikely. So if you can buy Timo Meier at face value right now, which is a 55-point pace, and you can like maybe buy 60 to 65-point pace, which I think he's capable of giving us, with some spurts of 70 to 80-point pace in there. But I think all said and done, we should be looking at a 60 to 65-point player at the end of the season with great shots and really good hits. Like, if that makes sense to you, then absolutely you should be going for it. But he's not going to get back to that 60 to 65-point area unless he gets power play 1 back from Stefan Nason. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I know that hurt. All right, Matty Tkachuk. I'm going to bring it back because right now folks are worried about Tkachuk, and I'm a Tkachuk owner. So I'm right there with you. He hasn't been doing it for me. I have lost 3 weeks in a row in the Content Creators League. Matty Tkachuk was hurt as a result of that. Like, Slavkovsky comes up as a cold streak. He's one of my guys. Joel Eriksson-Ek comes up as a cold streak. He's one of my guys. Like, my whole team is just cold as hell. And Tkachuk is one of them. His time on ice is down 8%. Power play time on ice is down 16%. Power play point pace down 61%. He's on pace right now for 13 power play points. Last year, he put up 32 in 80 games, good for a 33 power play point pace. Shots on goal per 60 is down 16.9%. Point pace overall is down 23%. 90-point pace last year. He's on a 69-point pace this year. Not nice. Hits are down 18.5. Power play shots on goal per 60 is down 23%. He has no assists on the power play right now. And his power play on ice goals for per 60 is down 30%. So they're just not scoring while he's on the ice. Their power play last year was 23.5% efficient, and this year it's 21.8%. So it's just a small drop, but a drop nonetheless. And maybe the second power play unit is just getting a little more done right now. Or maybe they did a bunch while he was hurt. There's a lot to catch up on for him. The green flags for Tkachuk, and I'm convinced that Tkachuk might be one of the best buy lows right now. His IPP is quote-unquote too low, but the power play IPP is criminally low. It's 40%. Usually it's in the 65 to 75% range. A lot of his missing points are power play points. He's 21 points shy of his point pace from last year, and he's 20 points shy of his power play point pace from last year. By game 13 of last year, Matthew Tkachuk had 1 power play point. This year, he has 2. Last year, he started slow. He had 18 points in 21 games. That was his first quarter of the year. That's a 67-point pace. Now think back. He's on a 69-point pace right now. Then the following quarters last year, he put up 23 points in 20 games, 30 points in 20 games, 17 and 18. So he blew it out of the water for the final 3 quarters of the season. Matthew Tkachuk built on his stuff, built on his season, really went ham in the middle. That 30 points in 20 games, that was hard. So he did go really tough. And he is almost putting up exactly the same first quarter as he did last year when he still wound up with 90 points. So for you to buy on Matthew Tkachuk and for him to be following pretty much the same pattern as he did last year when he won the fucking Stanley Cup, I think this is something we can be confident in. So for me, Matty Tkachuk is a hold personally because I have him and I will be holding him, and I'm convinced that that he's going to bounce back. For the rest of you, I would go out and buy, especially if you can find somebody that is worried about Matty Tkachuk right now, because he's putting up 70-ish point pace and he's got 90 points in the tank. And I think it's still there. It's dormant and it's coming out in the second and third quarters. If it's anything like it was last year, it's not tit for tat the same way as it always is with hockey, but he did this last year and, we got through it then and we're going to get through it this year because I do think, it's not like this dude just straight up forgot how to score or do anything. Like it's largely, from an offensive standpoint, it's largely the same crew. He's still playing with Reinhart, Verhaeghe, the usual Barkov, who's on fire, Reinhart, who's on fire, Sam Bennett, who's even doing pretty well. Like he's going to find it. And this IPP that's 55% right now is going to start to even out with the on-ice shooting percentage that like everybody is succeeding. And he's just not getting in on it. So the on-ice shooting percentage is up 20% and his IPP is down 20%. So that's a 40% swing where they're scoring 20% more and he's getting in on 20% less. So that's a lot of points that he's missing. A lot of it is on the power play. 20 out of 21 points of his missing point pace is power play production. So he needs to start getting in on these power play points. His power play IPP is just brutal at 40%. So that is going to turn around. And with that, the even strength production is just going to stay the same as it is. And the power play point production is going to catch up to where it should be. So I have Matty Tkachuk as the biggest buy of this entire episode. Next up, guys, sorry. This one is not going to be good either. I don't know if I just wedged the good news in the middle, but RNH, man, there's a lot of text on that screen. If you can tell, the shots on goal per 60 are down almost 19%. Man, this one sucks. First 9 games played when Edmonton was bad. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins had 4 points in 9 games. The most recent 9 games where Edmonton is good, he still has 4 points in 9 games. He's getting caved in Corsi 4-wise. Like McDavid is just propping him up. I did some of those, the Wowie with or without you on natural stat trick bits. 45% Corsi 4 percentage without McDavid. And where is it? Like 63% with. His Corsi 4 without different players without RNH. Bouchard gets 20% better if he's not playing with RNH. Draisaitl gets 11% better. Ekholm gets 21% better. McDavid gets 19% better. Arvidsson gets 11% better. Hyman gets 16% better. He is dragging everyone down. All the important players in Edmonton, he's dragging all of them down. I think there were like a few players whose Corsi 4 percentage got better when they were playing with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. It was like Ty Emberson, Connor Brown, I think Corey Perry, maybe. But like he is fucking everybody up to the point where like if they have an analytics department at all, they're going to be like, you got to get Ryan Nugent-Hopkins away from everybody, dude. Because if he's dragging McDavid down, that's the last thing that you want. Like McDavid is the straw that stirs the drink. Point blank. Like, yes, you have a Draisaitl. Good for you guys. But that's like Crosby and Malkin. If somebody's fucking Crosby up, you're not looking to Malkin to carry the team. Like you still need both. And RNH is a black hole right now. The green flags I got on him, the shooting percentage is like violently down. It's 3.03%. And the IPP is like, for a guy that plays with McDavid, it's 44% right now. It's 15% less than it was last year. when he put up a 69-point pace, and he's pretty much cut that in half to a 36-point pace this year. That's not rosterable. His shots on goal pace is 150 shots for the year. That's not rosterable. There's nothing here that's rosterable with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. There's just the deployment. And if you're holding on to a player for deployment, if you get that a few weeks from now, like if he's giving you what he should be giving you now, which is 65 to 70-point pace, if you're hurting yourself for 3-4 weeks waiting for that, like, did you really come out on top for that? Like at this point, like I'm almost like Logan Stankoven is, I think, under 50% rostered. If he was on your waiver wire and you had Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, for me, that's an easy swap. The other green flags I have for him is, since he's come back with McDavid and McDavid's going Super Saiyan, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' point pace has kind of like started to show a pulse. In his last 3 games, he's on a 55-point pace. He's got 2 points, both assists, both primary assists at that, in his last 3 games. He's also got 3 points in his last 6, good for a 41-point pace. In his last 13 games, he's got 7 points, 44-point pace. So slowly we're starting to see things creep very slowly back to where he was last year in that 65, 70-point range. The secondary assists, they kind of owe him a couple assists, and his power play point pace right now is just way too low for being on the top power play in Edmonton. It's 14 power play points. 2 years ago, he had 53 power play points. Last year, he had 27. So 14 is just moving way too far in the opposite direction. Edmonton does seem to have found their groove in their first 9 games. That's good. They played 18 games so far, so I'm splitting it right down the middle. They were 30th in goals for per game at 2.33. Their power play was 27th in the league. And their most recent 9 games, it does get better if you shorten that sample size. Like their last 6 games, last 5 games, they're even better. And I think that's because they put up a touchdown against Vancouver or something. They're 10th in the league in goals for in their last 9, and their power play has Frankenstein. It's 12th. So they're getting a little bit back. If you can get anything for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, I would even trade him with the waiver wire. I think especially in like 10-team leagues, yes, easy. 8-team leagues, he should already be on your waiver wire. 12-team leagues, I'm getting dangerously close, guys, because how many weeks can you hold out? I imagine on busy nights, he's not even making your roster. Like he's just a bench spot. He's wasting what could be a streamer spot, what could be 6 games a week, what could be actual production and more than 36-point pace. If you're holding, this is where you're going to readjust your expectations. I think we're going to get plus or minus 5 points around 55 points. Could be 50 points, could be 60. But I really, and that really does feel generous because 36-point pace right now is brutal. But I do think he does, like a lot of his stats say that he's underperforming and it's not his fault. There are certain things that you look at, okay, he's not shooting, he's not scoring, but he's just not seeing the same percentages as he should be. His secondary assists are way too low. There's like things that are out of his control. His shooting percentage, whether he's taking worse shots, I don't know, or if goalies are just stopping him or if they're stonewalling him. So I don't know. On ice shooting percentage is also like violently low. What you would think when you share the ice with McDavid, like 9.42%. That's a really, really low on ice shooting percentage. It has gotten a little bit better once you start to look closer, where these are more like on the ice with McDavid numbers, where his on ice shooting percentage gets to the 14s, the 12s, and the 11s. That's a little bit more like, okay, yeah, this guy plays with McDavid, but 9.4 on the year is just a little bit too much. So I think there's a little bit to pray for, but I also think, like, what are you waiting for? This is where I was with Wyatt Johnston 2-3 weeks ago. Is like, what is a bounce back for you guys? Like 55 points. Is that worth waiting 3 or 4 weeks for him to start to get there? Is it 65? Is it 70? What he was doing last year? You look at some of the stats from last year, and I don't know, like it wasn't unsustainable, but it also was a really, really good year. Edmonton made the Stanley Cup, and they're struggling early this year. They struggled early last year too. So for him to be able to turn it around again, it's there. It has been there. It's happened before, but it's just not something I'm betting on. So for me, he's a sell, or he's even a fucking drop. All right, I think that gets into our Discord submissions. We got a couple guys that came up here in the chat. Looks like Amon wants to see Verhage, so I'm going to get into that before we get into the ones that were submitted through the Discord, through Twitter DMs and Twitter comments and things like that. So let's look at Verhage. I think he did come up in the Discord too, but I don't want to really stretch myself too thin. I'm doing really good. We're at an hour. That's right where I want to be. So I'm happy. I still got to write that friggin' article for Dauber, so it's going to be a long night. It's a lot of red, as I can tell already from Verhage. His points pace is down 30%. So that's, yeah. But on the season so far, we're seeing his shots on goal have gone up. So but it's dropping drastically. And I'm trying to see why that could potentially be happening. So this looks like a signal flare. There's no goals in his last 3 games. He has been scoring in his last 5 and his last 12, but that looks a little low. This looks a little low. So his shooting percentage is half of what it was last year. So if he had 8 goals and 8 assists, he'd be on a 16 point in 18 games pace. So I wonder if the goals are to blame. Yeah, because that would put him on a 72 point pace, which is exactly kind of where he was last year. So are we blaming the goals? I think we can. But this is what you hate to see, is that his shots on goal is tanking. He went from a 330 shot pace in his last 12 games, where he put up 49 shots. It looks like he had a shit ton of shots and then straight up just stopped. And these are still good numbers, like over 200 shots. That's fine. But it just doesn't, it's not enough to prop up what he's capable of. Like if we want 30 goals out of the guy for 10%, we need 300 shots. And that's where he is, but that's not where he's going as of late. So if those shots start to come up, that's when I would start knocking on doors to buy, because maybe this is starting to scare some people away that no points in 3 games. It looks like a cold streak. That's all it is. Like it just looks like a blip. So good time to buy low on Verhage. I still think like with this power play time on ice and this power play percentage share of the, I think that's, yeah, I'd be buying on Verhage if you can. All right, let's get into these guys. JJ Peterka. This is one I really wanted to deep dive, but I had to stop myself just because I'm excited about this kid. So last year put up 50 points. This year he's point per game. Is it too hot? The shooting percentage is up 57%. Yeah, the on-ice shooting percentage is way too high. God, yeah. I don't know. I kind of bite on that power play point pace. I think maybe it'll go down to like 20. But I think with 185 shots, 80, man. This is exactly what he looks like though, is he's like a 1-to-1 kind of goals to assist kind of guy. But for him, like that's a 40 goal pace, and I don't buy that. So I wonder if we don't just get another 30-30 season. JJ would be a good sell candidate for me, because I think this points pace drops about 20. You can see 3 goals in his last 6 games, shooting 21%. Like that's just, yeah, look at this on his shooting percentage recently. That's insane. Yeah, he'd be a pretty good sell candidate for me. 55 power play point pace in his last 6 games. Wow. Yeah, I mean, if you can sell him in the 75 point-ish range, if you can get somebody in that 75 point, like somebody that's not unsustainably in the 75 point range, that's where I'd be selling JJ Paterka. But I do think he does kind of come back down to earth. Point per game right now. Yeah, I think he loses about 20 points of that pace the rest of the season. Stolars, guys, I'm sorry, I do not have goalie cards to share with you, so I'm going to have to do a bit of old-fashioned research on this one, which is boring, so I'm just going to keep that up. I got to find my actual tab here to do goalie stuff, which is always fun, right? My biggest worry, like before I even get into anything, is that Stolars, both Stolars and Woll are both injury like prone. Stoley played for the Flyers, and I remember it. And he played for Florida. I think his max games played in his career is 24, and he's seen a lot of games this year. He's seeing 18% more shots. The expected goals, it's going up per game. He's doing better. Save percentage wise, he's saving. Goal saved above average is pretty good. Okay. So what I like to see here, and I'm going to share this with you. So I was reading something from Stephen Valiquette, who does ClearSight Analytics, and really, really interesting thread to follow, and a fun rabbit hole to go down is, I forget the statistics, but the, like, paraphrasing now, is when a team has more, I think it was like a 30, I wish I could find the tweet. I really want to find it. Maybe I can. But when a team like has more than, I think it's like 75% of their shots are low danger shots, they have a 60% higher chance of losing the game. So when goalies are seeing more and more low danger shots, then then they're more likely to win these games, because what you're doing when you're throwing low danger shots at, here we go. I think it was Justin Bourne, but he was doing it with, maybe it wasn't. Yeah. Okay. So I found the tweet, and I'm going to share this with you guys now. Share this tab instead. So save percentage is at a 30-year low, with shots on goal down to a 20-year low. Perimeter shots are down 34% less, and clear-sighted shots in and near the slot are down 30%. Teams are leaning into high-quality chances, impacting goalie stats and scoring rates. So this is from Stephen Valiquette, who wrote an article or did something. Death of the 900 save percentage. So this might be it. No, November 16th. No, because I read it a few days ago, but I'll retweet it or something. But like, it's super fucking interesting, because this one might even be it. But it's when, and this is what I'm gonna circle back to, is where Stoli is starting to see a lot of low danger shots, which is great. Because that is going to keep him in the win column. That's going to keep him in the positive save percentage column. He's going to keep him low danger. I just want actual, I guess that's all I have. I want to see where he ranks in low danger shots per 60, like low danger shots against, but I guess I can't. Let's see if Natural Stat Trick has that. So you guys are seeing a bit into my crazy mind here of like how I figure this shit out. Okay. So let's get the rates. And I really wonder if he starts to like rank highest in let's see. Let's do 50 minutes of 5-on-5 time. Because that means you played at least one full game. All right. Damn it. All right. Let's see where he ranks. Low danger saves. Low danger shots against per 60. Samsonov. Stolar. So he's 13th. He's seen a shit ton. So 13, 14 of, where are the actual just shots against? 14 of 29. So yeah, right around half of the shots that he's seeing are low danger shots, which is great. And I wish I could find this right now. Maybe it's this one where, because I have this, it's a Jason Bourne article. Justin Bourne. Dear God, it's Justin Bourne. Okay, here. Yeah. The data showed that while certainly not a solution of its own, the data showed teams that take 0 to 9 low danger shots in a game win 60% of the time, while teams that get up to around 23 to 25 win 33, just 33. So if you're taking a ton of low danger shots, you are not winning games. And this is why we're seeing less shots on goal. This is why we're seeing a goalie shooting percentage drop year over year, is because the skater is starting to evolve. And in our conversations with Kevin Woodley, you know, the goalie evolved 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even, because we saw guys like Martin Brodeur just lay it out. Like they were 930, 940 for an entire season consistently. They were just blocking shots. Their pads were enormous. And, you know, the league has been doing things to bring scoring back to trend kind of the same way that saves have. So what he's saying is you just, with low danger shots, you end up keeping the opposing goalie warm and engaged and essentially create turnovers on bad shots. And that's huge, because if you're taking shots from the point, that's a rebound, or you miss the net and it goes behind, and that's a turnover. Now you've given possession up. You go from having solid possession to a whistle, or possibly the other team having the puck. Justin talks about here. This is a very cool article. Very, very cool article that you guys should read. These are the types of shots where today's goaltenders are more solid than they've ever been. Shooters seem to be adapting to the death of the shoot from anywhere strategy. And so it looks like teams are taking fewer total shots, but perhaps they're looking for better shots. And that's what we get into, where I'm starting to change the way I'm evaluating goalies. Like, you know, in terms of sustainability, you go and you look at, so for Stolarz, like if he's playing teams X, Y, and Z next week, you look up teams X, Y, and Z and you see what their low danger to high danger shot ratio is. If they're taking a bunch of low danger shots, chances are he's going to give you good save percentages. Chances are he's going to give you wins, as long as you can get the goal support from Toronto. And this is great, because look, Stolarz, his low danger save percentage, he's shutting them out at even strength. He is saving every single one, and he's 13th in the league in low danger shots against, and low danger saves, he's 11th. So look at this, like Mackenzie Blackwood this week, he is having a phenomenal run. And there you go. He's seeing a ton of low danger shots. Cam Talbot, like these guys who are super high value goaltenders, this is what you should be looking at. Lucas Dostal seeing a ton of low danger shots. Karel Vejmelka seeing a ton of low danger shots and saving a bunch of low danger shots. His high danger shots, where does he rank there? High danger shots against per 60. Are they near the bottom? Like Kevin Lankinen was not seeing a lot of high danger shots. That's why he was awesome. Ullmark, was doing pretty good. Kemper, fucking, okay, so everything's broken now because Jeremy Swayman fucks everything up. He's just not doing well. Right here, Anthony Stolarz, 13th least high danger shots per 60. And his high danger save percentage is pretty good too. Alex Lyon, like both of these Detroit goalies, they're standing on their head. Philip Gustafsson, all these guys that we're looking at as fantastic goaltenders. This is the process by which you find these guys. Who's seeing the most low danger shots? And I'm going to start to try and incorporate this kind of shit onto the site because this is the stuff. I build tools so I don't have to do this manual research all the time. And the tools eventually help people. So for Stolarz, I like it. I want to see his opponents over the next little while. Like, are they going to be high danger shooters? Are they low danger shots? Like, are you seeing a bunch of them? Yeah. Let's go back to who's next. Vinny Trocheck. I'm also a Vincent Trocheck owner, and he's cold. So let's find out why. Okay, calm down. Why are you twitching like that? Point space, 51. That's down 33%. Shooting percentage, looking okay. A lot of secondary assists. That's bad news. P's down. That's bad news. Power play points are right where they should be. So what's happening? He's hitting a lot more. What's his possession like? The shots have dropped off, but not by a ton. Like 10% is not huge. It's something, but it's not huge. Time on ice is up. Like, what is causing this? I mean, the IPP is kind of the big one. Maybe he's just not getting in on stuff. And they are moving those lines around a lot. Most of the time to like try and wake up Zibanejad, which means they're taking Panarin away from Trocheck. This is bad too. We've seen a lot less power play time on ice. I have faith. Have to. Trocheck's one of my guys. There's a heavy bias there, so take what I say with a grain of salt. Maybe we don't hit 77-point pace, not without like the hottest of hot streaks over the next 3 weeks or something like that. But for him to hit 60 is very reasonable. 65 even, I think, would be right there. But maybe a 75-point pace is out of reach at this point, but he is kind of making up for it with these incredible hits. The shots I want to come back, and it doesn't look good over the last little bit. And the power play time on ice is definitely waning too. That sucks. Vinny he'd be a buy for me. I'm not like terribly worried, but I do feel like we're going to need to wait this one out. Damn. That sucks. All right, Quentin Byfield. This one's for our guy, Paraturan in the chat. Let's see what's going on with him. Man, I remember the last time I looked at him, he was doing exactly as good as he was last year. And now it's trailing off. There's your problem. Less shots, less goals. He's taking less shots and he's scoring on less of them. Ooh, God. A lot of his, like 2 goals and 70% of his assists are like his primary point production is not good at all. God, I hate this for him. So 14 points are missing just purely based on the power play. He's not getting it done. IPP is low, but like this secondary assist ratio scares the hell out of me. And he's not producing goals at this rate, so there's not a lot of primary point production going on. It's all within his control. Like if he brings these shots back up, like you can't stop, you can't make other goalies do stuff for you. But I hate this. I really, really hate. Damn. like that secondary assist. It's going to be hard to keep going. Man, I know you're holding on to Byfield. This hit pace doesn't justify it. That shot pace doesn't justify it. This point pace doesn't justify it. I know you're a Kings fan, so you might be better suited on the waiver wire unless you're in like 16 team league. That's where I'm at with Byfield. The only time I'd buy him is Dynasty, maybe. I don't think I'd be buying him in a redraft right now. Oh my god, I forgot to add this card for you guys. Sorry. Yeah. So this is what I'm looking at. 71% of his assists are secondary. IPP is low. So yeah, he's missing out on points, but he's also getting more points than he should from secondary assists. So like these kind of cancel out in a way. But the shooting percentage and the shots going down kind of in tandem, that's terrifying too. I don't like this for him. I don't like it at all. Like the time on ice, yeah, it's going up. The power play, he's losing it. Are they still running a 5 forward power play over there? You gotta let me know on that one. I feel like that was they probably did it twice and then brought Clark back up to that. 100% of his assists over the last 30 days have been secondary. He's not doing shit. Oh man. That's really tough. We're still running it? All right. Yeah. Sorry, buddy. This is that's a drop for me. That's a hard drop. Let's look at Mitts. Ooh, okay. So we're trying to see if this one is sustainable for how hot he is. This looks good. A lot of primary point production. 7 of his assists are primary. 6 of his goals are primary, obviously. So 13 out of 16 points are primary point production. And his IPP still looks good. And the on-ice shooting percentage is high, but he's also like, this incorporates power play too. So this is all strengths on ice shooting percentage. And he's playing with like the best players he's ever seen in his life, in all situations. The power play point pace, this one worries me a little bit. So like with Colton coming back, that throws into question whether or not Middlestat keeps the top power play. They are eventually going to need somebody to run face-offs on that one, but a lot of the times the second power play unit comes over the boards and doesn't necessarily take a face-off, so you don't always need a center on that second power play. And if you do, you can just throw Mac out there to take the face off and then, catch his breath and get off the ice or whatever. So maybe Mitts doesn't go down there just for face offs, but you're getting to a point where there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Like Nishushkin's, he's got to be breaking down the door to get on power play 1. Who do they have net front? I saw Drew in there, but I don't think he was on power play 1. Which is super strange because I think Druin's on power play 2 with Nishushkin, and Nishushkin's a net front guy. Because there was a disallowed goal, and it was a Druin tip for a goalie interference. So obviously he was right in front of the net. I don't know if that's like, his role or if that's just where he was on that play, but love this shot pace for him, man. It's up 44%. Okay, so my verdict on Mitts is it's a tentative sell, and it could blow up in your face if he keeps power play 1. So, like, yeah, you can sell him as a 70-point guy right now, but that doesn't mean he's going to drop. The only thing that's going to cause him to drop is losing power play 1 deployment with, the best of the best that are out there. So if he keeps it and you sell him for a 70-point guy and you get a 70-point guy in return, you're treading water. But if you can turn him into something better, then, kind of take the rear view mirror out of your car and don't even look back. But there is a small cold streak that's going on here. No goals. IPP obviously is 0. On ice shooting is 0. So he has not been on the ice for a goal in 3 games, which is super strange. This obviously does not count tonight with the Flyers. I don't know how he did in that game. Imagine Colorado beat Ivan Fedotov tonight. Let me check on that one again. It was 3-2 last I looked, just the box score. I'm not watching the game, but I'd imagine they won 3-2. Yeah, the final. There you go. Makar with 2, Middlestat with another one. Rantanen and Druin, Tips with another one. Tippett's on this shallow dive thing. Yeah, I like Middlestat where he's at. Look at this, like fantastic primary point production. The IPP is well within a healthy range. The on-ice shooting percentage is a little high, but once you consider who he's playing with, that kind of makes a little more sense. The power play, that's the keystone here. That's the straw that's going to break the camel's back if the camel's getting tired. Damn, dude, we're just looking at my whole team. Joel Eriksson Ek. Obviously hurt right now, so I don't know if he's coming. I think he's coming back tomorrow. I got him in my RR plus right now. We'll see. So the biggest thing with him that's not going to show up in these stats here is that he's not playing with Kaprizov this year. That was something that really benefited him last year for the 68-point pace that he had, that he doesn't see this year. And that kind of, you're going to tell, he's not getting in on as much, and he's actually producing a little bit better, but he's not shooting. I do like that, but that was only one game where he put up one shot in 3 minutes. So that shot's on goal per 60, I'll just throw out the window. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the same Joel Eriksson Ek that we're used to. Time on ice, like this, that, these 2 minutes, 3 minutes of time on ice, that was time that he was spending with Kaprizov. His 5-on-5 time has dipped. And I think it's maybe they're trying to run duos because, they like Kaprizov and Zook together. Rossi's just kind of a guy. He's the sidecar piece there. And Jeek and Boldy seem to work out. So I wonder if, because right now they got Boldy with Eriksson Ek, with Zuccarello on the shelf. I wonder when they get back if they don't just go one-line team with Joel Eriksson Ek on the top line. That would be such a dream for me. I really want that to happen, and it'd be huge. Because I do think, like right here, look, you're looking at 10 missing power play points, and that would bring them up to a 57-point pace, and then we're missing only 10 points. And that could be made up with the IPP. Maybe that comes back, and the secondary assists, those would wash out a little bit, but maybe he's a 55-point guy this year. That's where I'm at. 68 points on the back of a lot of secondary assists. IPP really could go up. Like, I feel like 50% is low for this guy. Yeah, I do feel like measuring against last year might have been unfair because I think he did kind of overperform last year. So for him to come back down to where he quote unquote should be. But then again, like Kaprizov's kind of having an historic year as well. So if he winds up playing with him, there's nothing to say that he can't just cash in on some of that and get back to 65-ish range. But, like with Middlestat, where if he loses top power play, that's where you're going to start to see the dip. The inverse is going to happen with Joel Eriksson Ek. If he starts to play with Kaprizov, this is going to skyrocket. That's where I'm at with Eriksson Ek. Next up, Caulfield. I remember a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was in the Eastern Edge, where Caulfield, you're leading the league in goals, but you were not even close to leading the league in shots on goal per 60. So this is where this he won't stop scoring either. 33% shooting in the last 3 games, and I guess no goals in the 3 games before that. But this shooting percentage really has to come back down to earth. And Jesus, my buddy's going Cy Young, 3 assists on the year. I don't know. I buy it. But is he a 60-goal scorer? No, I don't think so. So I think this is going to wind up dropping. But I also think this, that has to start to level out a little bit. So we're going to see a little more assists. But look at the ratio here, 4-1. and last year was closer to a 1-to-1, even like a 2-to-3. Um, he's missing a lot of assists. So as the goals come down, the assists should start to come in. What I don't like is his line mates, like Jake Evans and Alex Newhook. Newhook's having a bit of a run, but I just don't think those are line mates that are good for you. To be given to like really be padding these assists to level out. Yeah, I think if we get 40 goals and 20 assists for him to get a 60, 65, like even 25 assists to get a 65-point season, I think we're right on pace for that. And I would buy it. Mitch Marner. Who was it? I think I saw it on Reddit. It was like, as soon as we told Mitch that scoring goals is just passing to the back of the net, he started doing a lot better. And it's weird. I'd love to do a deep dive on these guys just because he is doing so much better without Austin Matthews. And I wonder if that like gets in Berube's head a little bit. Like, do we need to separate some of these folks from each other? Let Matthews run his own line, let Marner run his own line, let Willie run his own line. And then you have a 3-pronged attack because Mitch Marner is honestly going on a fucking run in the 2 weeks that Matthews has been out. Look at this. 10 points, 4 goals, 6 assists. He's shooting 30% during the span, which is great because it's really starting to bring his full season totals back up to where it should be. Nothing out of the ordinary except for the recent run that he's been on, like the PDO being 115%. That's insane. 82 power play point pace over the last 2 weeks. But again, their power play really needed a kick in the ass, and that's what this is. On the season, like without tearing too much into the last 2 weeks, obviously they're unsustainable. We're talking about a 140-point pace, which isn't out of the realm of possibilities for somebody like Mitch Marner. But again, I think 110 is probably much more reasonable. Shot pace looks great. It's coming up 13% from last year. But again, like some of those shots are going to wind up on Matthew's stick. So they're going to wind up dropping too. Yeah, I like Mitchie. I think we're looking at a good one. Like things were definitely turning around for him. So Brant Clark next up. If he's losing power play, like 26 power play point pace, and that's half of his production. So it's kind of the same thing with Matheson that we were talking about a few weeks ago, where Lane Hudson took some power play shifts from Matheson, where if he's not getting the power play, this same thing, like I had him in the same tier as Adam Boquist, as like Jake Wallman, these guys who are like power play or bust. So as long as he's on the top power play, yes, he's worth a roster spot. But if this 5 forward power play starts to stick, which honestly it never does, for any length of time at least. But if Brant Clark like seriously loses the power play, then it's over for him in terms of fantasy. And for that to be like they honestly they did not want to move any of those forwards off the power play over Brant Clark. So that tells me if they're ranking the power play, Clark is 5 out of 5. And for anybody that was curious if like when Doughty comes back, is Brant Clark going to keep running the power play? That to me, that kind of answers it. And so enjoy it while it's happening. If he can bring it back and he can really start to continue to excel, because I think he was doing fine. He was doing great on it. He's not exactly, a defensive stalwart in the same way that Doughty is, where like, yes, you're a great power play point on the power play, but like as soon as it goes over that blue line, that's when we're in trouble. Like as long as you keep it in the offensive zone, you're good. If it gets on the other side of it, then we start to worry. Doughty, you don't have that problem. So I wonder if like that coupled with the fact that Doughty has a rapport with literally everybody on the team because he's been playing for 30 years. If Brant Clark isn't, again, ranked 2nd out of 2 between him and Doughty. But I think the short and tall of it is if Clark loses power play, then it's over for him for fantasy and should be dropped. But I want to give it a few games because I really don't think a 5 forward power play is anything that that lasts more than a few games. All right, we got Owen Tippett on here, and then no, we're not talking about Cutter Gauthier. Listen, Connor Bedard won it last year, and Mishkov's doing better than Bedard, so Bedard's winning it this year. It's his, or no, fucking Mishkov. That's how late it is. It's midnight, guys. Let's look at Owen Tippett because he is starting to bounce back. All right, we're on a 41-point pace, but things are definitely trending up. His shots on goal starting to come back in his last 6 games. They're flirting with that 13 range. His last 3 games haven't been as stellar. Only 8 shots in those last 13, but he had 24 in his last, like 4 shots a game, and then that dipped pretty hard. So it's a very up and down season for Tips. And this is what's hurting him the most. He's another guy that's like a 1-to-1 ratio where goals and assists. And if he's not producing assists and he's not producing goals, that's what I meant. If he's not producing the goals, then he's not going to hit this 50-point threshold. And that is evidenced right here by a 41% drop in shooting percentage and a 25% drop in shots on goal per 60, with a 7% increase in time on ice and a 17% increase in power play time on ice. So maybe we have a little bit of Andre Kasha here where, yes, really good at sprinting, but not as good at marathon running. I think for me, Tips is, I want to say, and I believe that there's a bounce back from 41-point pace, but I'd probably land him right around 50. Boldy for my guy Nate here. Goddamn, 87-point pace. What a fucking beauty. So we're looking at last year's stats to this year's stats. Let's file it down. So big jump in shooting, big jump in secondary assists. 60% of these, so that makes what, 5 out of his 8 are secondary, and then that makes 13 out of his 18 points are primary points. He's doing it for the 10 goals and 16% shooting. That doesn't worry me so much because that's 16, like, there it is. He's shooting a fuck ton more. He's playing with Kaprizov a little bit now. I like it. A ton of power play time on ice, even if it is decreased from last year. I think Boldy was kind of at the top of my list for a breakout year. There's like shades of Patrick Kane in there that I really, really enjoy. So I think these assists start to come back up. But they're already kind of over-indexed a little bit by the secondaries, which is brutal. Like, I say we play around 80. Like, for him to be 75, 80, 85 on a good one, I think that's where he winds up. I wouldn't sell Boldy. I wouldn't buy him. I would just hold him if you got him. And then I think I missed, where was it? Faber. You want to take one look at Faber since we're on Minnesota? And then we'll call it a night, eh? Boy, 43-point pace. So he's doing what he did last year. Could do a little better. Could do a little worse. So doing what he did last year. Yep, right on pace to 40 to 45-point year, as long as he keeps that top power play. So I got Faber. I really don't have a ton. I don't think he's like a breakout guy. I don't think we get 50 points out of him. I don't think we get 55. He's a 40 to 45-point guy. That's it. That's Faber. Look at the secondary assists. Like, I always give a little more leeway to defensemen with secondary assists. They're moving the puck a lot. They're not doing a lot of shooting. So obviously a lot of what you're going to get is secondaries, but the IPP could come up a little bit. So yeah, I think we're looking at 40 to 45, with 50 being like a very generous ceiling there. Yeah, for him to like not be blowing the doors down with I want to look at Minnesota's power play percentage. Like, are they not doing that great? And they're middle of the pack. So I expected, like, a lot of more accidental points that you might get because of just playing with Kaprizov, 90% owned. Yeah, I mean, Faber it's kind of like that shiny thing, right? Like he went off last year, so that's it. All right, we're looking at the end of Tuesday Trends. Thank you to everyone who submitted guys for me to look at and things like that through the Discord, through Twitter. All of that kept me busy. Definitely dig it. I'll pop this episode up on the feeds tomorrow because it's going to take another 20 minutes to download. And I'm not about that life right now. It's midnight. So thank you to those of you who joined us on YouTube and live stream and things like that. I think we got up to like 150 watching, which is nuts. So love you guys. Thank you for hanging out. I'm going to pop the outro music on so that there's less editing for me to do. And yeah, you guys can find us on Twitter at FHF Hockey. We are in the Fantasy Hockey Discord. Link is attached to our Twitter. Link is, I don't know, just hit me up for the link and I'm happy to send it to you. We're on YouTube. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We have a little more flexibility with what we can do on YouTube if we have 1,000 subscribers. So help us get there. Any of you guys are watching on Twitter, feel free to go over to YouTube and just tap those buttons for us. And you'll be able to watch us again. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know. My daughter and my son are watching these videos right now that was like, if you love your family, subscribe or your mom's gonna die. And that shit drives me up a wall. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna beg. But if you guys like us, we'd like it too. We love you.